So, good day to each and everyone. So, we are the group 3. So, right here we will be discussing about the methods of fish processing and preservation under by freezing. So, in the learning objectives, you will be expected to learn the different methods of fish preservation. So, in the reporting, in our module, we have 2 phases in our topics, which is the freezing and curing. Second one is the identify on how to utilize the different methods of fish processing and preservation of the said topic. Lastly, explain the important details of the said topic. So, let's begin. So, what is freezing? So, when we say freezing, it is a method of preserving food by lowering the microorganism growth. Freezing delays spoilage and keeps the food safe microorganism from growing and by slowing down the enzymes activity that causes food to spoil. So, according to the statement, so ang kaning ginatawag nga freezing is ginagamit siya, it is a food process para mutaas ang lifespan sa usa ka food. So, and also take note nga ang food preserving food in a way of freezing, ginagamit siya to avoid of multiplying the microorganism growth. So, it is good nga ginagamit siya aron nga mahilayo ta sa ginatawag nga spoilage, which is very dangerous, no, kay makadaot ni siya, no, it can cause stomach ache or etc. Says, in the simplest term, refrigeration means removal of heat from the body or atmosphere, which is desired to be cooled and its transfer to another medium. It is usually accomplished by the evaporation of a liquid refrigerant, which extracts heat from the medium to be cooled. The refrigeration cycle involves steps to remove the heat from the evaporating refrigerant by again converting it into the liquid state in order that it may be used repeatedly in a continuous process. So, meaning to say, in the simplest way of explaining, so freezing process kay ginagamit ni siya from the raw food nga ang to avoid of multiplying the microorganism. So, just like for example, if you have the food which is raw food including the meats, no, just like pork, beef, chicken, and etc. So gina-avoid nga ang gina-avoid sa tao nga mabaho ang sa kapagkaon, labaw na nga ang food is hilaw, no, para dili magkalat ang microorganism o mga germs, no. So ang way ana para mutaas ang lifespan sa usa ka pagkaon o magamit pa ni siya in a long term or long days is through freezing process. So why is it freezing process? To avoid multiplying of microorganism, no. Sama sa ginaingon nga ang freezing process is makatabang ni siya in order the food will mutaas ang lifespan sa usa ka pagkaon, no. So, quantity of heat to be removed for freezing the fish. Freezing involves removal of heat from the product in distinct stages. In the first stage, specific heat is removed from the product, lowering its temperature to a stage when freezing begins. The second stage involves change of state of water from liquid to solid. The temperature will remain relatively steady and the latent heat of fusion is removed. About 80% of the water freezes between -1 to 5 degrees Celsius. This temperature zone is called the zone of maximum crystallization. Quick freezing and slow freezing. The freezing process in which the fish passes through the zone of maximum crystallization in 30 minutes or less is arbitrarily referred to as a quick freezing. Quick freezing is a process employed in commercial freezing of fish. Slow freezing has the following disadvantage over the quick freezing. So, large ice crystals are formed during slow freezing, which can damage the cell walls. This may cause textural changes and increase tow drip. Water tends to freeze out as a pure loading to a higher concentration of salts and enzymes in the unfrozen water. This can accelerate autolysis. Some bacteria may have remained alive at 0 degrees Celsius, causing spoilage to continue in fish.
So, freezing methods and equipments, direct and indirect system. In cooling system, the distribution can be either direct or indirect. So, direct expansion system or the direct system is the refrigerant absorb heat directly from the material to be cooled. Then, sa indirect or brine system, the refrigerant absorbs the heat that the brine absorbs from the material to be cooled. And the freezing methods are broadly classified into 4 parts. First is the freezing in air, second is the indirect contact freezing, third is the immersion freezing, and lastly the cryogenic freezing. So let us tackle first the freezing in air. So what is freezing in air? Freezing in air is the most common freezing medium and it has 2 types, the still air freezing and a forced air freezing. Ang kaning freezing in still air, ang number 1 example ani niya is ang refrigerator nga ginagamit nga mostly ginagamit na to like pasanang sa store kanang mga convenience ng ana nga mga freezer nga ginasudlan na to mga stocks like meat or mga ice creams like ingana nga gusto nato ma-freeze. Because freezing in still air is a freezer or cold storage that simplest method with the lowest investment cost. It is the most suitable for large or unprocessed products. However, it is the slowest freezing method. So let's go to the air blast freezer. So air blast freezer, it is the process of pushing cold air or high velocity across a food product in order to freeze the product as quickly as possible. So the basic example sa air blast freezer is ang walk-in freezer. Sa walk-in freezer is mo ni siya ang kanang isa siya ka room nga freezer siya pero freezer siya nga isa ka room. Tapos ang mga product is ginabutang sa mga tray or stall then dito ginasulod para ma-freeze or magdugay. For example, magdugay ang meat ana gud dili siya madaot. So mana siya. Then ang advantages of the air blast freezer are versatile method applicable to any size and shape. Second is the easy for producing IQF fish fillet or coated products. Lastly is the suitable for operation in batch or continuous process.
Continuous air blast freezer. This is an improvement in the air blast freezer where a conveyor belt is used to move the fish continuously through the room or to the tunnel. The speed of the conveyor can be adjusted to suit the type of the fish to be frozen. Airflow can be either countercurrent to the movement of the material or across the belt. Air velocity maintained at 150 to 300 meter per second. Makes intimate contact with the fish and accomplishes freezing at a fast rate. Freezing is quicker and any type of fish can be frozen in large quantities in shorter periods. Spiral belt freezers are an example. Next is fluidized bed freezing. Fluidized bed freezer is an improvement over the continuous belt freezer. Fluidization is a method of keeping the solid particles partially supported in a rising column of cold air. The particles kept on a mesh are individually suspended in an upward stream of cold air at velocity sufficient to float the particles in the cold air. Each particle is surrounded by air and is kept suspended separated from each other. Freezing is rapid as the best possible heat transfer is ensured between the cold air and the product. air velocity of 120 meters per minute, and operating temperature of -35 to -40 degrees Celsius is common in fluidized bed freezing. This is most suitable for small-sized and uniform products like shrimps, small fish, and etc. The advantages of fluidized bed freezing are rapid rate of freezing, less product dehydration, third is short freezing time, and fourth and last is no distortion of shape. The major disadvantage is that large and non-uniform products cannot be fluidized at reasonable air velocity. Indirect contact freezing. Indirect contact freezing can be defined as freezing a product by keeping it in contact with a metal surface which is cooled by some refrigerant. There are two types, the horizontal plate freezers and the vertical plate freezers. Let's go first with horizontal plate freezer. This freezer in general have 15 to 20 plates. The product to be frozen contained in metal freezing trays are loaded between freezing plates and are maintained in close contact with top and bottom plates under slight hydraulic pressure to ensure maximum heat exchange. The freezing trays are also covered with tightly fitting lids which will help to provide contact with the freezing plates at the top. Temperature is maintained between -35 and -40 degrees Celsius. Fish freezes in 2 to 2.5 hours or 2.5 hours. The advantages of the horizontal plate freezer is produces well-shaped uniform. The advantages of horizontal plate freezer are produces well-shaped uniform product. The advantages of horizontal plate freezer are first is produces well-shaped uniform blocks, second is minimum floor area requirements, third quick freezing, and fourth is product dehydration in minimum. The disadvantages of horizontal plate freezer are it needs much handling in loading and unloading. Second is package should be compact without air spaces. Freezing will become slow if there are air spaces. Let's go next with vertical plate freezer. These are most commonly used for freezing fish at the sea. They consist of number of vertical freezing plates that form partitions in a container called stations. Fish are loaded between the plates until each station is full, and then the plates are closed together to form fish blocks. Temperature ranges between -30 to -40 degrees Celsius. Contact plate freezer is very economical to operate. The hydration of the product will be minimum and it remains in uniform blocks without bulging.
Horizontal plate freezer. So this freezer in general have 15 to 20 plates. The product to be frozen contained in metal freezing trays are loaded between freezing plates and are maintained in close contact with top and bottom plates under slight hydraulic pressure to ensure maximum heat exchange. So the temperature is maintained between -35 and -40 degrees Celsius. The fish freezes in 2 to 2.5 hours. So this horizontal plate freezer is designed to freezing blocks of foods and portion food products quickly, and also it has an advantages and disadvantage. So here are some advantages. Produces well-shaped uniform blocks, minimum floor area requirements, the quick freezing, product dehydration minimum, and also the disadvantages. Needs much handling in loading and unloading, and also package should be compact without air spaces, so the freezing will become slow if there are air spaces. So next is the vertical plate freezer. So these are commonly used for freezing fish at the sea and suitable for bulk freezing.
They consist of number of vertical freezing plates that form partition in a container called stations. So fish are loaded between the plates until each station is full, and then the plates are closed together to form fish blocks. So the temperature ranges between -30 to -40 degrees Celsius. So this vertical plate freezer is designed for bulk freezing at low energy and handling cost, and also the liquids very quickly to sustain and the food quality and ensure food safety. Next is the rotary drum freezer. This is a refrigerated stainless steel drum revolving at a preset speed. The liquid refrigerant is drained off as the drum rotates the food products remaining in the packets for drying. So the rotation cycle is timed and synchronized to produce the level of product freezing desired. The food product is discharged from the rotating drum into a conveyor system for packaging. So the unpacked products like fish fillet, shrimp, etc. that can be frozen. So rotary drum freezer is for fast, economic chilling and freezing of sliced, diced, and extruded food. So the benefit of this is for free-flowing product, hygienic and easy to clean, and also easy to operate.
Immersion freezing. In this method, freezing is achieved by immersion in or spraying with a refrigerant that remains liquid throughout the process. Refrigerated aqueous solutions of propylene, glycol, glycerol, sodium chloride, calcium chloride, and mixtures of sugars and salt can be used as a medium for freezing. Immersion freezing allows for intimate contact of every surface of the material with a freezing medium and thus ensures very efficient heat transfer. So both raw and cooked fruits and vegetables are often preserved with immersion freezing. So tanan pagkaon dili lang basta isda. The rapid freeze allows the foods to retain their color and textures for a long period of time. They also help to maintain the nutrient content of the vegetables, making them similar to fresh products and when it comes to steaming, braising, or broiling. Next is freezing and brine. Saturated brine freezes at -21 degrees Celsius, and this is the most common medium used in immersion freezing. Brine freezing is rapid and is adaptable for continuous operation. However, the fish will absorb some salt, which will depend on the several factors as a temperature of the brine, duration of immersion, fat content of the fish, and the surface of area. So this kind of method is often used in the fishing industry para ma-preserve ilang mga nakuha nga mga isda as they head back and forth. Tanks fitted with cooling coils circulate and supercool a brine made from salt or calcium chloride mixed with water. Food is packaged and then submerged in the brine and allowed to freeze. So, submerged meaning malunod sa tubig ba, then make sure naka-packaging to siya, then mauto mo freeze na siya. And next is brine spray freezing. Chilled brine is spray over the fish placed in trays. Heat is removed from the fish by the chilled brine in 1 to 2 hours. So, kani nga method is generally not used in the developed world or developed country. But there are still some places in the developing world where these food freezing methods help with food preservation. So, that's all.
Cryogenic freezing. In cryogenic freezing, this rapid freezing is achieved by exposing the fish unpacked or with a very thin package on an extremely cold freezant undergoing in a change of state. So, cryogenic freezing or pagyayelo ng cryogenic. Sa cryogenic na pagyayelo, ang napakabilis na pagyayelo ay nakakamit sa pamamagitan ng paglalantad ng isda, hindi nakapak na may napakanipis na pakete, sa isang napakalamig na freezant na sumasailalim sa pagbabago ng estado. Ang mahalagang pagkakaiba sa pagitan ng cryogenic freezing at liquid immersion heating ay ang pagbabago ng estado habang inaalis mula sa katawan. Ang pinakakaraniwang food grade na cryogenic freezant ay kumukulo o nagpapasublim sa carbon dioxide. Freezing using liquid nitrogen. In freezing using liquid nitrogen, liquefied nitrogen gas is sprayed over the product as it travels in a tunnel over the conveyor belt. The nitrogen gas passes countercurrent to the movement of the fish so that the fish get pre-cooled before reaching the liquid nitrogen spray. So, ang pagyayelo gamit ang likidong nitrogen or freezing using liquid nitrogen. Sa pagyayelo gamit ang likidong nitrogen, ang liquefied nitrogen gas ay ini-spray sa ibabaw ng produkto habang ito ay naglalakbay sa isang tunnel sa ibabaw ng isang conveyor belt. Ang nitrogen gas ay pumasa sa countercurrent sa paggalaw ng isda upang ang isda ay paunang lumamig bago maabot ang liquid nitrogen spray. Pagkatapos ng pag-spray, ang produkto ay pinahihintulutang uminit saglit na inilalabas mula sa lagusan. Freezing using liquid solid carbon dioxide. Liquid carbon dioxide is sprayed over the fish as it travels through a tunnel on a moving conveyor. The carbon dioxide is sprayed through the nozzles, and while sprayed, the pressure is quickly reduced and about 50% of it suddenly changes to tiny particles which absorbs the heat from the surrounding and gets converted to the gas, resulting in rapid cooling of the fish. So, freezing using liquid solid carbon dioxide or pagyayelo gamit ang likido solid na carbon dioxide. So, ang likidong carbon dioxide ay ine-spray sa ibabaw ng isda habang naglalakbay ito sa isang lagusan sa isang gumagalaw na conveyor. Ang carbon dioxide ay ini-spray sa pamamagitan ng mga nozzles at habang nag-e-spray ay mabilis na nababawasan ang presyon at humihigit kumulang sa 50%. Nito ay biglang nagbabago sa maliit na particle na sumisipsip ng init mula sa paligid at naging gas na nagre-resulta sa mabilis na paglalamig ng isda. Ang pagyayelo ay maaaring gawin sa pamamagitan ng paglalantad sa isda sa pulbo ng solidong carbon dioxide.
Freezing using liquid refrigerant. The most common liquid refrigerant used in dichloromethane fluent -12. Fish is placed in a moist bowl is conveyed to an insulated chamber. The advantage of liquid nitrogen freezing and the added advantage of cost. The liquid refrigerate is evaporator changes into vapor, absorbing the heat energy from cabin air. Double freezing is a common practice to preserve the fish by freezing onboard vessels when the voyage lasts for a few weeks. Use of fish frozen in bulk on board for further processing to fingers, reprocessing bulk frozen shrimp. Our examples are doubly freezing. Quality-wise, refreezing of fish is considered to be undesirable. So, karaniwang sa kanayan ng pag-iingat ng isda sa pamagitan ng pagyelo sa mga barko kapag tumatagal ng ilang linggo ang paglalayag sa pamagitan ng isda ng maramihan. Same sa ato ang mga mama. Di ba ang atong mga mama mamaligi may mga isda tapos kanang pang 1 week or tapos mo ni siya ang ginagamit sa ref kaning double freezing katong nasa babaw good mo ni siya ginabutang diri ang isda kay para ma-preserve ang isda para pwede pa siya maluto og pila ka week or para makatabang po ni siya kay para maka-budget Partial freezing or super chilling involves lowering the temperature of fish to about -2 to -3 Celsius by cooling the fish to this temperature range. Approximate half of the onboard water present in the fish will get converted to the solid paste. Storage life of the partially frozen fish is subsequently frozen will be very short. So, kaning partial freezing is kaning mo ni siya ang pinakagahi. Diba makabantay man mo sa ref or something, mga freezer kay naamay ka ng lower, higher. So, naani siya nabilong sa higher. Kaya niya ang mga isda nga humok, kaya niya pagahion para ma-preserve ang isda para magamit pa sa pila ka days, and maupod ning ginagamit sa mga nagkuan, same lang sa double freezing. Same lang siya, pero mas kuan lang dyan siya, super chilling dyan siya kayo.